Hello and welcome to the Dashboard Dialogues podcast sponsored by DealersLink. My name is Sam Flecker and I'm your host, and today I'm joined by Mike Goicoechea, founder and CEO of DealersLink. Hope I didn't butcher that name too badly, the last name. But
not bad.
So we're super excited to get this podcast going for you guys, and we have a lot of exciting content coming out for you guys over the next months. Well, Mike, my first question for you is what excites you most about this podcast moving forward?
I think what excites me most is DealersLink has been a bit of a black box over the last 10 years. We've been focused on R&D. We've been focused on making our products better, focusing on building our team. And we haven't done a big PR push.
Yeah.
Really opened up the walls to the dealer community and let them know more about the personality and the culture. So I think it's a great opportunity for the dealers to understand what we do over here, what's important to us, our staff, what really drives us. And I think it'll give them some insight in why we're so passionate about their product development.
Yeah, definitely. I'd agree. So we like to start off with a fun question. So I'm going to get right into it. What was your first car?
Well, technically, my first car was a 66 Mustang. So I was 15, I was in Wyoming, had a hardship license. That gave me a 50-mile radius from town. So my dad let me have his classic car. It was beautiful, chromed out engine,
Wow.
Cherry exterior.
Ooh.
And I drove that around town for a couple weeks and then asked for a little bit more range. I wanted to drive down to Salt Lake, and he said that was okay. So I took that Mustang down on the Three Sisters, which are three huge hills, got up to at least 100, 110, as much as it could handle.
Not bad.
Needless to say, blew a radiator hose,
Oh.
car overheated. I was stranded on the side of the road, no cell phones. Highway patrolman came and helped me reconnect some hosing and added some coolant in that car. Didn't ask about my license or anything, so I got pretty lucky in that first outing.
Sounds like it. All right. So you mentioned you grew up in Wyoming. How did that affect your view on kind of the automotive industry and the business world and just kind of wanting to become an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I'd say first off, in Wyoming, car dealers are revered. They're kind of pillars of the community.
Sure.
They're guys that are buying some of the 4-H animals, participating in local rodeos, high school sports, Friday Night Lights, that type of thing, major employers in the state. So, the fact that we were involved in dealing cars, it was grown up environment of respect.
Yeah.
Just a businessman in that. And beyond that, in Wyoming, there's not a lot of opportunity. There's not a lot of big corporations or jobs like that. It's cowboys. It's oil men. Yeah. So really the guys that are successful in the state are the entrepreneurs, the builders, the developers, small business owners. And I learned at a young age that's the community I wanted to be a part of, and saw those guys doing great things in the community and in those small town environments. And I definitely want to make my contribution.
Awesome. So, going off of that, what would you say some of your biggest influences? Like, it certainly sounds like you were influenced by kind of the community around you and seeing those above you, but within kind of the business world, what would you say are some of your biggest influences? Or just growing up, rather,
Yeah, absolutely. Being part of the dealer community in the state of Wyoming and then entering the vendor space, I have met with thousands of dealer principals over the years, large and small. Guys that run remarketing programs for enterprise and some of the larger Fortune 500 players in the space. Those guys definitely help mentor me. And Michael Bystrom out of Enterprise was someone that was, a mentor to me on some levels. And just the dealers that we started dealing with when we started this company, we asked for their help. We asked for their help of, how can we develop a platform for you to trade? What can we do better? And those guys were instrumental in not only the success of DealersLink, but helping us learn how to become business leaders. And I have so much respect for the car dealers. It's one of the most complex positions in business. These guys have to be experts in personnel, finance, HR, mechanical systems, advertising,
They have
sales.
to do it all.
Yeah. So like everything under the tent. And I basically picked and chosen different skills and different tricks from all those business leaders over the years and tried to put it in my tool set.
Yeah, it's a good skill set to have. So, building off of that, DealersLink is a tech oriented company, software oriented, and you guys have been around since the early 2000s. You've seen everything change within the world of tech. How technology has changed the way you operate, the products you have to develop. What would you say? How do you see the role of tech changing within the automotive industry within the next few years, within the future?
Yeah, so I see tech influences the the auto business in two ways. Number one, the tools that they use to operate and manage their operations and their dealerships. And number two, how their end consumers interact with their vehicles and services via technical platforms, whether it's social media or dealer websites
Yeah,
or online classified portals or anything of that nature. And what we've seen, especially now, is a generational shift in car buyers, where the younger generations that used to be like kids, millennials or Gen X
yeah,
generations, they're now young professionals. They have great jobs. They're starting families, and they have a lot of power. And the way that they like to engage with car dealers, all the dealers know this, is different than their parents and their grandparents. So
definitely.
the dealers have had to evolve, and that's the new market. And those dealerships that have embraced it have become more technical, who've invested in more technical services like what we offer at DealersLink, ultimately have been more successful. So I think those are some of the biggest challenges.
Along those lines, you know, the automotive kind of car dealership industry is more traditional than other industries. There's guys that are in it for 40 years and that kind of stick to it as their career path from the get-go. So for younger entrepreneurs, more of the Gen X kind of people trying to break into it, what advice would you have?
Well, I think most of the people that end up in the automobile industry have a passion for cars.
True. Yeah.
They they love vehicles. There's so much about vehicles to be passionate about. They're in many cases their art form. There's the technology that's part of them, the heritage, everything. Just really captivates imagination. So I would say, don't even bother being in this industry if you don't love cars, if you're not passionate about cars.
Yeah.
Sometimes I interact with other vendors and just hear them talk about car dealers or vehicles or things like that. And clearly, they're not passionate about cars. And I'm wondering, how did you get into this space if you don't like cars, man? Like, what are you doing here? So I think just the passion, you want to be involved in something that you love. And that's something that we definitely build at DealersLink. That's one of our first questions we ask potential candidates is, did you work in a car dealership? Did
Yeah.
you fix cars growing up? What was your first car? Are you passionate about cars? And typically those guys that aren't passionate about cars, we know that they're going to get bored or kind of disillusioned. So I think
Yeah.
it starts there. And I think the second advice that I'd have for someone young is just expect change. It used to be that change would go slow. It would go 1, 2, 3 year cycles.
Yeah.
Now it's almost quarterly, if not monthly, like market conditions changing, technology changing. And if you really like a dynamic, fast paced career that's based around automobiles and transportation in general, and you like change, it's a
Yeah.
great place to be.
Constantly changing. Yeah.
But if you don't like cars and you don't like to work and you have a lazy bone, I'd say there's probably better industries out there for you.
Yeah. So Dealers Link is it's made by car dealers. You were a car dealer once. Many of the people who work here were car dealers prior to this, and I mean, it's for car dealers. You're constantly around car dealers. You've been around them your whole life. What would you say? What do you like most about working with car dealers?
That's a great question. There's a lot to it. Um, I think that car dealers get a bad reputation. I think the majority of car dealers are very honorable, high integrity business, sophisticated business operators. I think what's challenging about being a car dealer is sometimes you don't get the sort of respect that a realtor gets, or
Yeah,
a lawyer
I could
gets,
see that for sure.
or maybe a doctor gets, And
Yeah.
I'd say what I really revere about car dealers in general is what they contribute to their communities.
Yeah.
The amount of jobs that they deliver their communities, the local tax dollars they spend, supporting local sports
Yeah.
and charities. And car dealerships in general are gathering places in many communities. People come, they check out new cars. There's cafes inside the dealership. It's a very social environment.
Yeah.
And I think what I respect the most about the car dealers is they are true pillars of their communities. And it's disturbing to that sometimes they're disparaged for being, slick, like used car guys that take
Yeah.
advantage of you. When in the most case, the reputable dealers that have had their signs for decades and generations, they're some of the most honest, hardworking, generous businessmen in their communities.
Yeah.
So I definitely respect them, and I'm proud to be part of that community.
Yeah. I always remember growing up, you hear just the names on the radio and TV, and they kind of stick with you wherever you go, just of the dealerships and the owners. So they really are, leaders of their community, I'd say. So more specifically towards DealersLink, what would you say makes DealersLink unique compared to other vendors in the automotive space, automotive tech space?
Yeah, there's some things that make this company unique, this team unique that I'm most proud of. The fact that we're 100% employee owned, I believe we're one of a kind. There might be a few out there in our space.
Yeah.
But most of our competitors, they have large private equity firms, venture capital firms, or publicly traded, and they have a huge investment component to their organizational makeup. And what that means is it drives decisions in the organization, it drives culture in the organization.
Yeah.
And anytime you take a 20 or 30% chunk of your gross profit and you hand it to an investment group, you don't have as much resource to share with the employees who are the ultimate stakeholders
Yeah.
and invest in R&D and all those great things. So being a 100% employee-owned company, we can really focus on what matters. Delivering a great product, taking care of our customers, and taking care of our employees. And when we prosper in the space, then those employees are able to benefit from it and, take care of their families. And we have a, really close-knit team and a lot of
Yeah.
dedicated people because they feel pride of ownership. So I think that's really important. I also think what makes us unique is our development philosophy. So we like to develop products that are simple, fast, and cost effective. Many of our competitors, they like products that are complicated, bloated, slow, and they're expensive. Let's get honest. What these guys are charging out there is very expensive for the services that they're delivering. So I like to keep to that main focus. And there's dealers out there that want complicated,
Yeah.
bulky, bloated type software, and maybe they're not great customers for us. But we've experienced time and time again in the market that most dealers have really complicated positions. It's very hard to get through a day, lots of decisions, lots of challenges in their day, and they need a software experience that's just streamlined, it's simple, it's user friendly, it's easy to train if they have turnover with their staff.
Yeah.
And that's where we're trying to hit on DealersLink.
Thank you so much for joining me, Mike. It was great speaking with you, and I will see you around the office. And thank you, everyone, for tuning into this first episode of Dashboard Dialogues, sponsored by DealersLink. We will have a new episode coming out relatively soon, so be sure to check us out on social media. Follow DealersLink on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon.